This is episode 26 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. In this episode, JK and I will go over some tough training sessions, what to do, can you predict them, as well as a little follow-up to our previous episode on the sleds. And we have some questions for each other. JK texted me over a few questions and we decided let's answer those on the podcast, see what everybody else thinks. Let's jump right into it and let's make hybrid fitness work for you. All right, then let's get to recording. All right, hi everyone. I believe this is episode 26 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. That means officially it is half a year. 26 episodes, one per week. 26 weeks is half of a year.
That's crazy. Hey, congratulations.
And finally, look at JK with his professional setup.
Yeah, it's taken me a while. I apologize, but half a year. That's crazy. We've been training, coaching together for 9 months.
7 or 8 months.
7 or 8 months.
Yeah, we started the podcast about 9 weeks, 10 weeks into coach athlete relationship. So looking, I'd have to go back and see when our first episode actually was, but we've been together coach athlete since February, late February, right before the March, beginning of March was DC, and we've been together like talking about it for maybe 10 days at that point. So before DC, early March. Right now we're at the end of October. So we're looking at like 8 months.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. We got very good feedback last week on our sled analysis, let's just call it. So thank you guys for that. And I guess we'll try to make sure that we continue to give good data episodes as well. So you guys can start understanding on how we operate in terms of looking at data for Hyrox.
Yeah, and I like that. I got feedback. I'm assuming you did too. It's actually been our biggest episode so far. Holy crap, we got a whole bunch of views. I haven't checked it in a little while, but I just pulled it up because I was gonna look for this, but I can't seem to look at it. But in terms of our podcast here, we've been getting quite a bit views, and that's actually our biggest one now. Wow. That's surprising. It surpassed our past biggest episode, which was how to program for hybrid fitness racing. So people like the data episodes, and also your guys is extremely popular every time all the Elite 15 athletes get together and have a little chat, which I really hope you guys can do after Hong Kong. But I do know there are some early morning leavers that are leaving the day after the race. So
right. Yeah. No, and the more and more I know and coach more so than anything, Anthony, the more and more I understand that everyone loves the data. Everyone loves the data of Hyrox. So we'll definitely continue.
Yeah, and I believe a good part of it is us talking about how to use data for informed coaching. I think that's pretty important. Like not only like to present it, but how to use it for coaching your athletes, because you could have all the data in the world, but like we've talked about before, if you don't know how to use it or like anything else, I think, what was it yesterday? I texted you, like, it could be the best program in the world, but if it's not getting utilized or it's not being properly done, then it just goes to waste. Like I wish I had the exact phrase of what I used, because I thought that was better than what I just said.
Yeah. Well, just on that, just quickly, I had a day yesterday where I was feeling my training, let's just call it that. And Anthony and I spoke on Monday about that due to the fact that we had to change up my normal weekly structure because I can't train as much on Saturday. And Anthony said to me on Monday that I would be feeling my thresholds on Thursday. I would be really feeling it. And Thursday comes around, and the man, the myth, the legend, Anthony was absolutely correct. Um, but I was kind of just like messaging Anthony about it and thanking him for kind of being so acute with understanding how my body will react. And then you him giving me the programming and stuff, and then he responded with, well, you're the one doing the work, but then I responded with, you're the one giving me the work.
And then
So it's a team effort. It's a
I found the
team effort.
response to that. I said I can write like it doesn't matter. I could write the best program in the world, but it'll go unnoticed and useless without the man that puts it to use, and that's you.
That's correct. That is correct. But if it wasn't for your programming,
We're gonna go back and
I
forth
wouldn't
on
have
this
the
again.
work in the first place. So it's hand in hand, right? So anyway, um,
Um, yeah, so exactly like we were talking about. We had talked earlier in the week, and this is important why some one-to-ones get done. And that's because we go over the training early in the week. I have the whole week in front of you, and we sit down and say, okay, here's what the load's going to look like. Here's how it's going to feel. Um, I like to do almost all my one-to-ones early in the week, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And we look at it because for you, for example, you have a big day tomorrow and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday with
yeah,
your little sister getting married.
well, older sister.
Older sister. I thought she was your
Yeah,
younger
she's
sister. Oh.
oh, come off it. She's older.
Bigger little
She
sister. I have one of those.
yeah. But she come across younger than me.
I thought she was younger than you.
Oh, I'm gonna tell her.
Uh, so,
No, she's actually gonna like that. She's
yeah.
actually gonna like that.
So,
Yeah, no, so she's getting married tomorrow, which is
yeah, so
exciting.
she's getting married. That's awesome. We have your limited amount of drinks that you're allowed to have at the
Right.
wedding, and we were
That's
adjusting
right.
your program to like fit within that form that you're doing.
Yeah.
And we kind of just took it as okay, well, we need to front load the week a little. And so we know you were doing your thresholds on Thursday, and I told you Monday, like after what you did Wednesday, it was going to be a pretty rough day for you on Thursday. You took it in stride. You did fine on your running, you told me, but your afternoon machine thresholds, that's what got to you.
Yeah, it really did. Um, and it was actually funny because like I was messaging Anthony just before I was doing my ski thresholds, and I just knew that I wasn't going to without even starting. I just knew that I didn't have didn't have the what do you call it, like the power or the output to produce. And it was it was true. Like I wasn't able to produce a pace that I normally do. But it was more about getting it done and getting it done at that threshold, or sorry, in that threshold zone, let's just call it. Um, so yeah, no, I was I was messaging Georgie as well whilst I was like about to start. I was like, just need to get this done, need to get this done. But anyway, no, got it done.
So
Got it done.
yeah, just about that. And remember, we talked about this in our threshold episode is you want to get up to threshold. Anything like above a certain point to your threshold, right? You get benefit from. If you go past it, we never want to go past it. So it's always like pull it back, pull it back. You want to be right here. You want to be right here. And you get the most benefit right on the line. But you get a ton of benefit right below it, right? And it's a little easier. You went just a little bit below it. So instead of getting right up to the line, you were 97% of it. And so, yes, it was still worth doing. You ended up taking off, what, like 2 seconds per 500 on that
Yeah.
interval. So you still got almost up to that line. You got the conditioning benefits, all of it. It's just you weren't perfect in it. And that's okay. You don't have to be perfect in it.
Yep.
You're still getting a ton of benefit out of it.
Yeah. I talk to my athletes about this a lot. Like, changing the purpose of a session before, before, during is very, very key. Like sometimes, because as you said to me beforehand, Anthony, like I was worried that there wasn't point doing the ski because I wasn't going to hold what I normally hold. Like that was my question to you. And then your response was like, no, it's okay to be 2 seconds, maybe even 3 seconds off my normal 500 pace. Get it done, and you'll still gain the benefits off doing the thresholds in the first place. So, changing the purpose is okay sometimes, right?
Yeah. And we didn't change the purpose because we
No,
still were
no, no.
looking at threshold intervals, right? Like you still did all your thresholds. It's just we also did like we pulled it back a little bit so you were able to complete it. And
Mm,
your body was pretty taxed going into that. And sometimes, yeah, pull the plug if you can't maintain it. But we're like we've said multiple times, we are not like putting out super high end. We're pretty conservative in the paces we go. We stay in that lower zones. We don't like
yeah.
go super anaerobic all the time, like hardly ever. So pulling back just a little bit makes you feel way better. And I'm sure because your body was pre-taxed, you still got your heart rate up into that zone it needed to go into. The feeling of your body, right? Now we know too, like, hey, this type of load that you took over this week, that was pretty heavy for you. Like,
Mm.
and that's okay. Like, how'd you feel today coming off that last night? I mean,
I
it's early
like
for you.
to, Well, it is early, but also I'm actually feeling okay. But that's because I've been able to recover. I had 9 hours sleep last night, ate really well last night. Um, I haven't moved yet, but um, like I haven't trained yet, but I'm I'm feeling okay mentally, right? Um,
Yeah.
so so yeah. But yeah, it's funny. We barely touch, and well, yeah, we do touch anaerobic sometimes, but um, you're right. Like it's more about just the aerobic volume that we do each week. I was just thinking the only time that I've touched anaerobic lately was trying to bloody chase your wife after the sled push in Amsterdam, mate. That felt so anaerobic.
Nice.
She
Um,
just took off.
she's tough, man. She's tough to catch. She's getting
Oh,
quick.
she just took off. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Lauren.
Um, so a couple things that we want to talk about. You talked about how we got some good feedback from last week's episode, and we did. And one of the things that I had heard was, do we want the sleds to get heavier? Like I was when we were presenting that sled information, it was like, well, we expect it to be what the original intention of the race was, that the European sleds that were originally those times we had, that's what we expect for these. And it came, I had heard back that, well, don't you want it to get heavier? Everybody's getting bigger, faster, stronger, right? So, and my response to that, just a little bit, is no, you don't. You don't want it to move. You want the test to stay the same. One of the things that like the last 15 years, right, we've had CrossFit around. CrossFit uh started out like everybody doing all the movements, doing great, like everything. And back when we used to coach CrossFit, I noticed this trend that as people stayed in it longer, I called it the CrossFit creep, right? They wanted workouts to get heavier. They wanted skills to get harder. Why? Because they wouldn't have to work as hard to maintain because, oh, I can just go heavier. And so everybody that like was chasing me down because they're faster would not be able to do this heavier weight or not be able to do this higher skilled movement. So I could RX and they would have to scale. And in CrossFit, the idea was like, yeah, get higher skills, get stronger, but you should be able to still move at the rapid pace. So if you were to go down to the lighter weight, you still need to maintain that conditioning, right? The only reason you beat somebody in a workout, which you shouldn't be racing them all the time, but I know back when we coach CrossFit, everybody likes to race in the class. Um, you shouldn't just be beating them because of the weight difference. Like if you were using the same weight, you should be able to move at the same pace. If you're the stronger person, you should be able to continue because it should be a lighter percentage of your 1 rep max. So, um, if if the only reason, so like instead of upscaling movements, as like the athletes get bigger and stronger, they should be able to
Yeah.
just move through it more quickly. So if
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
maintain,
Yeah.
and that's a big part of high rocks, is it's supposed to be a standard, right? This is the race. Everybody can do it, any generation coming through, just like, an Ironman or a marathon. We don't just, oh, let's just make it harder. Oh, look, I've ran all these marathons. I want to make it harder for everybody else because I can do it harder, right? No, you just start running it faster. Um,
Yeah.
if you want to go longer, you go to ultra marathons, you go to other things, all right? But the race itself should be the original intent.
Yeah. Correct. And like that to me is what progressing your fitness sorry should like it's all about making sure if like let's just call it if say if the stimulus of each race is the same and the sleds are the same, let's say that way, well we should be trying to focus on progressing through it a lot quicker, and that to me is what progressing your fitness is, if that makes sense. It's funny because Anthony, on this topic, I put up on my Instagram, I think it was this week, um, the difference between pro and open. Now, I'll be the first to say that race that I did with Lauren, I know it was doubles, was it felt a lot harder than the race the Thursday the night before. Um, in the Elite 15. How fascinating is that? The stimulus and the intensity that I had to produce for the doubles with Lauren was 5 times harder. Um, because I was able to deliver an intensity on those sleds, an intensity on the runs, right? And that's kind of what you're kind of saying here, right? We don't want Hyrox to change and want Hyrox to be heavier and longer even or whatever. We just need to be consistent so that we can progress and do it faster. Let's just call
Yeah.
it.
Well, you can measure yourself against your time. So everything like you will get stronger, you will get faster, but
Yeah.
your test, the race will maintain the same. So that's like the
Yeah.
idea. If you look at past CrossFit Games, 2013, 2014, they weren't doing things like uh, massive deficit handstand push-ups and pegboards and things like that. Once they started to add like these more complex movements, now all of a sudden you have the like ring muscle up to ring handstand push-ups that like just
Yeah.
massive, like the skill level keeps going higher and higher because they're trying to test the athletes at these new abilities, right? But I think real fitness is shown in the ability to go faster at common movements, right?
Yeah.
Things that we do
Yeah.
already. And the
Mm.
quality of those movements will just get higher and higher too. They should, as you continue to move through those ranges of motion. And I don't know if I
Yeah.
explained that right, but like, do you know what I mean? Where like the original stimulus, like if the
For
workout
sure.
Fran in CrossFit, right, is always 21, 15, 9, thrusters and pull-ups. Thrusters at 95 pounds for men, 65 for women, and then pull-ups, right? Somebody who has never done a pull-up, that's a really hard workout, long workout for them. I think the first time I did it was like 5 to 6 minutes. Then you get stronger, you get better in the movement patterns. You're able to do the pull-ups more. Your front squat goes up, your clean goes up. All these factors start to happen, and your time will start to go down and down and down. And now it's about how fast can I do that movement with this quality of reps? and eventually you get to a point where it's like, I just keep getting faster. Now, instead of taking a minute off, I'm trying to take a second off. So I repeat the workout
Yep.
again for a second. And that's what like high rocks can keep doing that. And yeah, the times will get faster. There will be world records. Um,
Yep.
and not world records because of course setup, but world records because the people get fitter and faster. They learn the movements, they get stronger and faster. New people come in with different strengths who like can attack the course differently. So they end up like setting things, and it can keep progressing like that. We don't need to make anything heavier or harder just because the athletes are able to do it, right?
Yep.
I really
Correct.
think the
Yeah.
elites, the pros, show what's possible, and everybody else that runs the same course as the pros, you can test yourself like, holy crap, I can do what they do, the exact same thing. And it's pretty cool.
And Olympic triathlon has never changed.
Yeah.
Distance has never changed. A marathon is a marathon. It's 42.195 kilometers, 26 miles.
26.2 miles. The point two is for the Queen
26.2 miles.
because it was 26 miles and they added the point two to make sure they went past the palace in England.
Is that actually correct?
Long time ago. It used to
Actually,
be 26 miles,
wow.
but the Queen wanted the marathon to go
To be,
past the palace, so they added point two.
wow. Okay. But what we're
Forget when that
saying is they're
was.
like running like a running race like that, a triathlon, which everyone knows about, they don't change. Like that's what it is. And
Hmm.
then the triathletes and the marathon runners are just trying to get fitter,
Yep.
trying to get fitter. Yeah.
So along that line, I've been trying to look it up because I don't want to present any problems without solutions. So
Right.
I've been looking up what kind of surfaces could they use instead of carpet? Because the thing about the carpet is that it has a high like thermal expansion, so the temperature, the humidity, all that's going to play a factor in the carpet, which carpet's compressible. So how compressible the material is that's laid over it. I don't think they have the option of not using carpet because I think the all the convention centers that they have to have it in mandate that they cover the floor to not damage the flooring, right? So they can't just have it on the
Right.
polished or sealed concrete, whatever it is where they're at. So I've been looking up different things and I don't have any yet, but I think there are a couple good options, including a portable flooring that is like a synthetic type wood that could just be there. And then that you have a hard, flat surface that's non-compressible, so you can actually push the sleds on. And that would be fantastic.
And like to sum it up, you're saying that that flooring could potentially have no inconsistencies.
Yeah, it wouldn't be inconsistent from venue to venue or anywhere else because it would have like the thermal um, impact on each section would not cause drastic changes. So
Yeah,
like
like the weather
I,
the weather wouldn't change it or
right. So you
have
could
yeah.
So you could have a fantastic like hard floor that you can still press off of that still protects the concrete of the venue, um, and you'd be able to make markings on it and have it lane to lane. I've been looking a few up. I'm just curious if any of them would be a suitable replacement for the carpet.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Interesting, right? Yeah, and
If anybody,
I wonder if Hyrox are doing, you know, their own kind of research about it. I'm
yeah.
sure they are actually.
So, like things I was looking up at first was like turf, but I believe we mentioned it before. The turf, the issue is that when they form the turf, it's like a type of glue that does have like thermal and expansion qualities and compressibility. So not only that, but they have to cast it all in a certain direction. So like one way might be way easier than the other way, and so you don't really want to have a
Uh,
turf, even if you went di perpendicular to the lane of travel, it
open,
would still be pretty difficult.
right.
So if anybody out there has a flooring or knows of a flooring from your background that's like that, I'd be curious to know what it is. I've looked up a
Yeah.
couple. I don't have them in front of me right now, so I'm not gonna be able to completely explain it. But I think that would be an interesting way to move. But again, that would be changing the race. But because of just some of the, and I think CrossFit, or I think Hyrox has done a really good job of mostly consistencies. Like this past weekend, we saw two races, one in Milan that looked like, there was trouble with the sleds, but then you had the other one, and I don't know, is it Incheon or Incheon in Korea?
Incheon, I think.
Incheon in
Incheon.
Korea, and you had what looked like normal pushes and pulls there. So, um, yeah,
Mm.
we'll see how it progresses, but I think that's something that the community at large is looking at more. It's just like the
Yes.
variability between the carpet and what else
And
can.
like also, like I have no doubt that Hyrox is doing their due diligence and thinking about other ways to improve, or because if you think about it, things such as the Warble technology now, there's a couple of other things that they're trying to bring in. Like they're on the front foot. They're definitely on the front foot. So I've no doubt they're probably doing more due diligence than you are, Anthony.
I am
And that's
sure they
saying
are,
something.
and I'm positive they are. That they want to put on a high quality race for everyone. That's, I think, a priority. So uh,
Yeah.
I have no doubt they're looking into it. Okay, moving on. Um, the other day, yesterday, actually, for when we're recording now, you were on the Savan podcast, and I just wanted to thank you for the support of my wife, Lauren, that you said on there. That was awesome. You said she was the high rocks athlete with the most dominance, whether male or female. Uh, it made me want to go check, and I didn't finish checking it all, but um, I started making a spreadsheet of wondering about the championships, and it's I'll bring it up maybe in a later episode because it was pretty cool so far what I found, but I'm not done, so I can't do that. But
Yeah.
I also noticed when looking at that, uh, looking through the past races, there is a missing race on High Rocks and on High Results. It's just,
Right.
come on. It's the 2021 US Championships that took place in Chicago. And I've looked everywhere for it. There's no 2021 US Championships with the elite field. I've changed the seasons. I've looked up this. The only place you can find a title of it is if you go to the all-time rankings of the women. And I think it's just because at the time when it happened, it was a world record that Lauren set. And so Lauren won that race. This is the missing race. Won that race with a time of 105.18, and at the time was a world record. And it says the city, Chicago US Championship 2021. But I can't find any other results for it, and I can't find that race on the website. So it's on
I
page
wonder what,
6 of the
yeah.
all-time rankings for women. Um,
Right.
but if anybody can find the results of that race for the men's side, that will help me in figuring this out because I know that Hunter won the race, and I think Magida came in second. Maybe Ryan Kent did. Um, but 2021 U.S. Championships, I don't think it was the one. It was not. It was not the one that had a tornado warning. It was the year before that. I know on the women's side, because I have a picture from the podium, it went Lauren, Rebecca Hammond, Rachel Vonderak. Those were the top three women. Uh, I don't know on the men's side. I just remember Hunter won it. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious if anybody has the results of that race, if they can find it for the men's side.
Well, hopefully by next week, we can find it. But just on that, Anthony, data never lies, or facts are facts, right? Like that's what I said on the Savan podcast, and it was not intending to be any criticism towards anyone else, but Lauren has won X amount of championships compared to anyone else. That's all was that's all the message was, So hopefully by next week we can find that race and then we can kind of actually go over that those data points.
Cool. Yeah. And no, I just wanted to say for that, like, thank you. I appreciate it. That you said that. It was great of you. And I thought you did pretty well on the Savan podcast. So if anybody wants to listen to that, I know he can be controversial for a lot of people. So I don't really want to like push everyone to go listen just because.
Yeah.
He also went on for about an hour after you cut out of there. And it
Oh,
got
he
really
didn't, did he?
political. Yeah. So Uh,
Ah,
we'll
right.
just
I'm
listen
glad
to
I was out.
JK. He does good. Um,
Yeah.
all right. So the rest of this episode, we had questions for each other. Uh,
Yeah, mate.
JK sent me 4 questions and he's like, let's just answer these. You ask me and I'll ask you and we'll come up with the answers and this can be it. And then I'd also like to take this moment though, just real fast because everybody's been actually really great to us on these podcasts. I want to read a couple reviews here. And if you guys haven't yet, you can go hit the like, subscribe, follow, whatever button there is. Go over to those 3 dots, hit go to show. If you guys leave us a review or a comment, it really goes a long way to helping us get out there, and we really appreciate it. So even if it's just a rating, I'd appreciate it, guys. So this review is from 22 days ago. I don't know how to say this whole name, but it looks like Gariel Hellu. Love listening, guys. Thumbs up. And then another comment from Kevin Thews. Great episode, guys. I think Anthony would win a 400-meter race because of his wrestling and CrossFit background. In a 1,000-meter race, JK would win by at least 5 seconds. Keep it up, guys.
Thank
So,
you, Kevin. I think Lauren and I actually met Kevin in Amsterdam. He's a great guy. Thank you, Kevin.
yep. So I got those 2 in there. If you guys leave a comment or a review, you'll hear us read it out to you guys. So I appreciate it, and we look forward. So continuing on with the episode, the questions for each other. The first one, JK.
Just quickly, you ask first one, and then I'll ask the second one. We'll go to and fro. I'm just trying to find them.
Okay, I got him
I
here.
I sent it to you on WhatsApp, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
Uh,
All right, you go. Let's
what's
go.
the toughest thing you've ever done?
All right, and I'm going to try to be as quick as possible with these questions. I say that, and then 5 minutes later. I don't know if I've actually told you this, Anthony, but I've climbed Kilimanjaro, and yourself, you've climbed Kilimanjaro, but there was one trip that I did with my father who he used to take trips to Tanzania, and I used to work for him when I was 18, 19 years of age, taking these trips. And there was one year that I climbed Kilimanjaro with a group that I was facilitating. Um, and we climbed, we got to the summit, and on the way back down, um, he wasn't able to come back up with his group. So I had to turn around at, I think it was the second day hut, which is oh, I can't remember the name, but I literally had to summit, come back down for 48 hours, and then
That the
summit again.
Oh wow. Is that the Baranga?
But it's something like that, mate. Mar
It's been a while.
Marombo,
Yeah,
Maromba.
so I actually climbed Kilimanjaro 11 years ago and 2 months ago. And that's a picture
There we
right
go.
there. I'm showing you. Keep it up here.
With your
That's
mum
my
and dad,
dad, my
right?
mom, and me up at Uhuru Peak.
Uhuru, yeah, yeah, yeah. But so I summited with the group that I was taking up, and then came back down, not to base camp, but to like halfway, and then I decided to take dad's group up, and that was the toughest thing I've ever done, mentally more than physically, because it was just so exhausting. But doing it twice in the space of 8 days, I guess. So that's my toughest thing I've ever done, hands down. Um,
So
how,
just
how
for
about
reference for everybody listening, Uhuru Peak, where JK said he had to go down and back up, it's at uh 5,895 meters above mean sea level. So
yeah,
your altitude, right? For anybody that's not measuring in meters, our Americans here, that is 19,340 feet, a little bit more, that
yeah,
above sea level.
yeah,
Um, I remember going up there and getting like altitude sickness. It was crazy. Every step down that mountain, like, was another breath of like, oh my gosh, like I can actually breathe. I can actually feel good. Like
Yeah.
it was crazy. And we base camp the night before. So your last ascent is actually about 15,000 feet, 14,000 feet. So you climb the last like 5 to 6,000 feet in that midnight summit you do.
Mm.
And that was pretty tough. I do remember. And it's only
Yeah.
like it was hard. It was a lot of switchbacks, and the last climb is only what, maybe 2 miles long, and you're climbing that four to
And
five
you're
thousand feet, and you just keep going back and forth.
zigzagging.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's pretty steep. It's a tough climb.
Yeah.
That's definitely a really good toughest thing you've ever done.
Yeah. How about yourself?
Well, I climbed Kilimanjaro. I do remember that being very, very hard, especially getting altitude sickness. It was tough. Uh, the way you worded this question, I didn't know if you meant physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it was. And so I was like, toughest thing ever in my life was losing my dad. But that was a different type of tough. Um, I was taking this back a little bit. That I remember I was thinking like physically, what physically was very difficult. And well, back in wrestling, my freshman year of college, we had to do something called hydration testing, because you were only allowed to drop a certain amount of weight each week during the season, in order to meet the weight class that you were going to be in, because there was a real problem with like, um, uh, before I got to college, there used to be a problem with like just massive dehydration, right? People would end up getting kidney failure and like some issues while wrestling because they'd be in the sauna so long. Um, well, one of the things I did back in my freshman year was I had to basically make weight because my body fat was very low. It was like 5%, and if you were below 7%, you weren't allowed to um, drop any more weight. So if you were below 7%, you had to be at your weight class you wanted to wrestle in order to make weight. So I had to do hydration testing. Well, if I wanted to pee hydrated, I would have to drink water, enough water to like basically pee clear. But I would have to be at weight and do that. So if you don't know, a gallon of water weighs about 7.5 to 8 pounds. Um, and
Yeah.
so I would have to drink probably, I don't remember, maybe a quart or a half gallon in order to get in that zone to be able to pee clear. And I knew that no matter how dehydrated I was or how light I was. So I spent one day, my freshman year of college, trying to make the 149-pound weight class. The morning that I woke up, that morning that I was going to make 149s, I woke up, I was 160 pounds.
No
So
way.
through the day, I lost 11, and it's already been a pretty long week because I knew this was going to happen. I was trying to take my weight down gradually, but I only had one more day left to hydration test. So I took my weight down, uh, 13 pounds in a day. Basically, I woke up, put on plastics, went for a run, got in the sauna, went for a run. I think I had one apple and one yogurt in the day. Um, Eventually, I basically just like wrung all the water out of my body. It's pretty like
Holy.
I could tell it was getting me mentally. I was like pretty delusional at some points in the day, but I was 12 pounds down, 13 pounds down at one point, and then I had to drink the water and go do the testing. Drink the water,
Yeah.
waited about 45 minutes, went and did the testing, got a clear on the test, and I weighed in at 148.8. So
Wow.
I'd wrung myself out, drunk enough water to be able to urinate for the test, and that was extremely difficult. We
Yeah.
still had practice that night because you don't get out of practice, right? So I still had to go to practice that night. That night at practice, we were in the Truax facility, which is a practice football field, an indoor practice turf football field. And when I was on the wrestling team, I was one of the fastest kids. I was always like top three in every run we did. That day, I remember trying to keep up in these 400s. I think we did like 20 by 400 on a minute rest, as part of the practice that night. And I was running as hard as I could, but it taught me a lot about like injury and training, or not injury, but like the inability to just move, because I was running as hard as I could, and I was behind our heavyweights. Like
Mm.
I was dead last.
You were
Um,
dead because of the
I just had
the day that you had.
no energy to
Yeah.
perform that workout.
Mm.
Um, what's funny is I made the 149 weight class and then I never wrestled in it.
Right.
So
Oh, really?
yeah,
You, you, so what'd you end up wrestling at?
I wrestled 157 mostly,
Right.
and then I spent my first 2 years of college at 157, my last 2 years at 165.
65. It's light.
It was light. I was very light, and
Yeah.
I'd be about 180 in the off season.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like if you
Okay.
want to talk about like extreme dehydration and wringing yourself out, that was pretty much
Yeah.
what it
That would have
was.
been tough, mate.
Yeah.
Something that I hope I'd never have to try to
Um,
do.
I think that was the hardest one. I did do it in high school one time because I was to make the FILA Junior Nationals. I had to lose 21 pounds over 3 days, and that was pretty hard because I had to hold it down.
Yeah.
I didn't perform
It's a
well
long
in the
duration.
I didn't perform well in the tournament, so that one was really hard. And I don't think I'd ever want to do that again because you have no energy. Like you can't
Mm.
sustain it.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. Hopefully you don't have to do that again. I doubt you'll have to do that again, mate.
I don't think I'm gonna ever enter the senior wrestling scene.
Yeah. Well, so that's first question. Second question, I'll go first I'll ask you first. What's your favorite type of workout and why?
Wrestling. Uh,
Wrestling. Just anything
yeah,
wrestling.
anything. Let's just go do it. Find a mat, throw it down. No. I like machines in a workout, and God, I gotta say, I don't know why, but I keep coming back to it. I like workouts that just have power elements with like some conditioning ones. Everybody likes the workouts that they can win, and I think that's kind of what it is. It's like that workout that we, not you, but me and Lauren and Jack Driscoll did a few weeks back, where it was like 5 or 6 rounds of running, heavy power clean and jerks, burpees over a box, and wall balls. Like that was fun, fantastic. I just love that type of workout, and I'm very drawn to like anything that I can just put my head down and work too. Um,
Right. Yeah.
and at this point, like in terms of my weightlifting, I'm pretty gr like I have the movement patterns down, so those can just be part of my put my head down and work because I don't have to think about it. But like it took a while to get there. For anybody else, like yeah, just go do something for a long period of time. How long can you do
Mm.
something? I always thought about that. Like I'd like to run an ultra just because I'm wondering like I don't know if I'd ever stop.
Yeah. 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 I like that. Um, my favorite type of workout, I was toying with two, but I'll be honest, I think my favorite is my strength running that I do normally on a Saturday. Um, and strength running is pretty much just incline treadmill intervals. I love it because of how it makes me feel afterwards. And I love it because I can feel the benefits of the actual stimulus um during, but also like afterwards when I'm doing my thresholds like days later or just feels so strong. So when it comes to my favorite type of workout it's simply treadmill strength running. It's got to be on the treadmill as well. I kind of like love that idea of just like I'm in my own head, incline up, um, and the way I go. Um, but yeah, apart from that, um, I do love like a general, let's just say like a general like um 5 round for time, like burpees and a machine. I do love burpees and a machine. But yeah,
So
those are my favorite type of
I was
workouts.
just thinking about it too. That workout we did earlier in the week. You you told me
Oh
I had
yeah,
to
you
do the
smoked me.
2 minute AMRAP repeated 7 times with 1 minute of rest. Anytime there's a rest in there and everybody is forced to rest, I'm good at that too because if everybody's forced to rest, I was gonna rest anyway. So yeah, Yeah, I really liked that one. It was a lot of fun. I was actually disappointed myself. It was like the fifth or sixth round. I only got 13 calories, and I was like, "Come on, man!"
You
Uh,
smashed me. You
So,
absolutely smashed me.
but if anybody doesn't know, it was a 2 minute AMRAP, 400-meter run, max skier calories in the remaining amount of time, and you repeat it 7 times with a minute rest between each one.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were to think, if you think anyone from another sport could come into High Rocks and do very well, who would it be?
My first uh thought would be the Ironman triathlete Lionel Sanders. Now, more so due to his mentality of what he does with his type of training. Um, I think he would potentially struggle with some of the movements and maybe the strength elements, but I think he would I think he'd come in hot. Do you follow Lionel Sanders at all,
I don't.
Anthony?
No,
No?
I don't. I remember watching the Olympics and thinking these triathletes would do very, very well in this, but um like Alex Yee, I think the guy that won the Olympic distance triathlon this past year in Paris, I think he would do very well. I think I saw Christian Blumenfeld. I think he would
Yeah,
do very,
he's
very
one.
well.
Yeah,
Um, just because their ability to run after like it's amazing. Like the guy just put in like the marathon, a sub 2:35 marathon after swimming 2.4 miles and biking 112 miles. He's able to go do like a 2:35 marathon. How many people can do
crazy.
that like without doing the stuff beforehand? But that's an amazing cadence to be able to keep in running. That's
Yep,
just that's mind blowing, right?
yep,
Um, they're putting out a ton of power on the bike, so I absolutely agree. Like they have the power. Maybe I think like the biggest difference between this is going to be like, well, do we have 8 weeks to train them, or is it
yeah.
just like exactly what they are right now?
They
Come do
are
it.
right now.
Um,
Yeah,
because I also think um, some of the wrestlers that I know, like Jordan Burroughs, multi-time gold medalist, world champion, like he'd be awesome. I used to say that about like CrossFit too. I think that they do really well, but um the guy is not he's not a big dude. I know that he runs a ton, so his strength is there. He has great proprioception about his body. I guarantee like his lunges are amazing. That single leg strength of the wrestlers is fantastic. So really
yeah,
it's just teaching him the movements, getting him to run proper like for the event. I think those type of people would be awesome. And then I still think on the women's side, like, yeah, probably look at triathletes. Even I was trying to think when you sent me this question, like triathletes or decathletes, right? And I was like, well, the
yeah.
decathletes don't really have anything that's like long enough. I don't think they have that endurance base. Like they're strong, they're fast, they definitely have that like peak speed, but I don't see like in that power output, but there's not like I don't think they would do as well as a triathlete in
As a
a
triathlete,
high
yeah,
rocks race.
yeah, yeah. So is that Jordan guy your pick or
Yeah, I mean, I think he would do well. I don't know, man. I after seeing what some of these Aussie rules football players do and the hits they take and how many miles they run in their Aussie rules football, like you, I
yeah,
mean, maybe there's some hidden talent in there.
maybe there is actually. I didn't even think about the Aussie rules footballers, but there could be potentially. Um, yeah, like the game and what we have to, well, what Aussie rule footballers have to produce is pretty similar to yeah what we have to do in a high rocks race.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. I
Because
agree with that.
I was trying to look at it from two sides, men and women as well. Like I actually think so you think about like the CrossFit Games athletes, but I think they're way too skewed towards strength and they're not going to be fast enough on the runs. So I don't think looking at any of the CrossFit Games athletes that they would make the Elite 15
No,
on the
yeah,
men's side. On the women's side, there might be like three of them that could break into the Elite 15. I don't think they're. I mean, even like I, I would be hesitant to say any of them could like break into that top five maybe or top
Yeah.
four, but making the Elite 15 they might be able to do
Yeah.
on the women's side.
Yeah. Agreed.
Uh,
Agreed.
so yeah, I mean,
Um,
you guys out there, if you can think of a sport that we're missing, let us know.
yeah.
Who would be the best athlete to come in here and disrupt the High Rocks field?
Yeah. Yeah. Cross country skiers. I don't know any name, but I got a feeling that'd be pretty powerful
Yeah, I bet they
as
would be.
well.
Yeah.
Last question, Anthony. Um, Actually, I'll state for you, if you weren't a hybrid coach or athlete or an engineer as well, what would you be doing?
Man,
Okay. If you weren't an engineer,
I thought this was gonna be a super easy question. I was like,
no,
if I'm not a
if you weren't
hybrid
an
coach or an
engineer,
athlete,
if
what am
you
I gonna
weren't a
do?
hybrid
Oh, I'm an
coach,
engineer, project manager. That's what I do. I don't know. A dad.
a dad,
So, I
a
mean,
dad.
trying to
That's a
think of
great,
things that I already am.
great
Like,
answer.
most of my life is just it's like fitness and engineering. So I'd love actually if I ever were to go back to school or if I got the chance to do school over, I would probably be a biomedical engineer instead of a civil engineer. Just because I could like blend the two and meld them together. So, oh, I think you're frozen, JK. You're looking lovingly at the screen though, so the frozen screen is you
Are you
with,
there?
oh, there we go.
I think we're back. I think we're
There
back.
you go.
Sorry about that.
So I I don't know. I actually am really drawn to as well, and I've told Lauren this, that if I were to go back to school, if I'm, biomedical engineering, but like a physical therapist, like I really
Mhm.
enjoy getting people to move, finding issues with like movement patterns, helping them with things. Ever since my back surgery, I would love like nobody should be in that kind of pain in their life, and so creating good and helping people uh,
Yeah.
get out of that. And I know what that pain feels like. Helping people not have to experience that would just be, um, it would fill my cup. Oh, JK froze again. Oh no. Well, I don't know what JK would be unless we're going to say a professional Aussie rules football player. So unless he unfreezes here, that's getting close to the end of the time we're going to have for today. And I'll come back. There you are, JK. Before you
There we
freeze
go.
again,
Sorry,
what would
mate.
you be?
I would probably go down your route there and say something along the lines of a physiotherapist or a yeah, like something along the lines of body um like a like a body doctor. I'm just gonna say, or for people that need it. The only other thing that kind of comes in my head is some sort of like psychology or doing something with respect to like counseling maybe. And for adolescents and children as well. We kind of have this passion for helping the youth, let's just say, like the people younger than me as well. So something along the lines of psychology and counseling, I think. If I couldn't be a fitness coach or a hybrid athlete, let's say.
That's awesome. I really respect that. I like that too, that you'd go that direction.
Yeah. Um, so yeah. What else, Anthony? Is there anything else to go
No,
over?
I mean, I think that covers a lot of what we had on the docket today. That covers the roadmap that I planned out for us for this episode. So, if anybody has any questions or comments, or if you like what you hear and you'd like to get in contact with either me or James Kelly and you'd like to be coached, we have plenty of spots on the hybrid engine and the Pro Track or the Daily Dose. So you can follow us on the Pro Track or you can go to the hybridengine.com. Or if you prefer the words of James Kelly,
jk.hybridcoaching. Jake, I just, I just couldn't. jk.hybridcoaching on Instagram
There you go.
or jk hybrid coaching on Fitter. We're both on Fitter, which is
Yep.
great.
We're both on Fitter,
Thanks
which
for listening,
makes sense.
guys. Like always.
Like, comment, subscribe, leave us a review. We'll read it online. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you again for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to follow JK or myself, Anthony, you can find us at jk.hybridcoaching on Instagram or at the Hybrid Engine on Instagram. Either one of us usually and routinely answer questions on those platforms. So if you'd like to get in touch, reach out. Thank you again. Have a great day.